All right, so the Kansas City Chiefs this year have not been as good as they were in the past, and they're 6-6 right now, coming off a rough loss on Thanksgiving to the Dallas Cowboys. They play the Houston Texans on Sunday Night Football, and the Texans have been heating up lately. They've won 3 games in a row, and they have one of the best defensive units in the league. Offensively, it's still somewhat of a struggle. They got C.J. Stroud back last week. He did enough to win against the Colts. The offensive line for the Texans is still kind of bad, and they don't have the strongest receiving core in the league. But I think the Kansas City Chiefs, I think it's kind of obvious to anybody that this is a must-win for them because it's already a tough spot they're in right now to even make the playoffs. It's a long shot, and if they lose this game, their season's practically over. It's been a real rough season for the Chiefs. I mean, it's been said a few times now. They're 1-6 in one-score possessions games this year in comparison to last year where they were 12-0. They've just had some bad luck this year. And also, the Chiefs' defense just has not been as great as it was last year, especially situationally. This is a bottom 10 defense in turnovers per game, sacks and pressures per game, and they're also bottom 10 in third down defense. And last year, they were one of the best third down defense teams in the league, and they were one of the best red zone defenses in the league. They're still pretty good in the red zone, but they give up a lot more big plays this year, and offensively, I don't think they've been as bad as they were last year. I think it's been much improved. It helps having guys like Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown be more healthy. And Rashee Rice, in the 6th game he's played, he's already their leading wide receiver in all statistical categories. Travis Kelce, I mean, it's been said too, he's just not what he once was, but he's still having a pretty decent season. 800 yards, 5 receiving touchdowns. Still not a bad season for a tight end. But I think you got to look at Chris Jones as the main X factor to this defense not being as good as they usually are. He only has 3 sacks this year. He's not getting pressures like he used to. And he's doing pretty well in the run game still, but Chris Jones, his bread and butter is when he's trying to get pass rushing going against the quarterback, and he's been struggling to do that this year. And I think just when your defense isn't doing all those key things that a good defense should do, it's going to be hard to win games when you're not getting turnovers and when you're not playing like a 3rd and long or 2nd and long after a sack. You're just going to give the offense more advantages and opportunities to score. And as for the Chiefs offensively, as I said, this is a pretty okay passing attack team. I think Mahomes has had a pretty good year. 22 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He's looked pretty good. He's had some bad moments, obviously, still. He's had some high turnover games, and he's also had plays where he's missed the wide receiver. The Giants game comes to mind especially, where he had some really bad throws where it looked like it was Blake Bortles throwing the football. But overall, I don't think this is a Mahomes issue. He's been really good on the run this year, too. His throw on the run's been amazing, and he's been able to just run past defenders and get a couple yards to even some first downs. This has been one of the better years Mahomes has been as a scrambling quarterback. He hasn't really been doing that as much the past few years, but with how pedestrian this run attack is this year, they need him to be a running back sometimes because Isaiah Pacheco is just not the guy to be a number 1 back. He's a solid number 2, but he's not a number 1, and neither is Kareem Hunt at this point. And I think that goes to another issue with this team currently. Their front office the past 2 seasons have not nailed their draft picks as well as they did in 2021, 2022, and 2023, where they built some very solid defenses when they won back-to-back Super Bowls. They just have not hit on their draft picks as much. The Xavier Worthy pick has been a big-time disappointment, if I'm being honest. He's not been Tyreek Hill, but I think it's also crazy to assume he was going to be Tyreek Hill. I mean, Tyreek Hill's one of the best speed receivers in NFL history, and his ability to track the ball when someone's throwing it is just like no other wide receiver in the NFL. And I just think those have been some other issues, too, that the Chiefs aren't good. The offensive line's subpar. It's okay offensive line. 27 sacks allowed. It's middle of the pack in the league. And the Chiefs' schedule for the rest of the year is kind of tough. They have some pretty easy wins. They got the Titans and they play the Raiders, but they also have the Chargers and Broncos still, and they've already lost to both of those teams already. Again, very close games, game-winning field goal against Denver, and it was a touchdown game in Brazil against the Chargers, and we'll see with the Chargers. Their O-line's just injured to shreds, and Justin Herbert, we'll see with his hand injury how long that's going to be out for. And I think Denver is obviously a great defense, but the offense is just, well, not good, to put it nicely. I don't know what the Chiefs' chances are to make the playoffs. I think they do beat the Texans this week. I think that the Texans' offense is just not good enough to beat out the Chiefs or like any kind of offenses that are like good to great. But going after this, I mean, it's going to be tough. I mean, you can't really lose a game after this. And look, I know no one's going to like cry for the Chiefs being bad this year or having an off year. They've dominated the NFL since Patrick Mahomes has became the full-time starter in 2018. They made the AFC Championship every year as Mahomes is a full-time starter, and they've won 3 Super Bowls. I mean, they've been the most recent NFL dynasty after the Patriots. So it's not like no one's really feeling bad. Plus with the refs, and I know a lot of people don't like Kelsey and Mahomes, and yeah, it is kind of annoying hearing them all the time, and Romo and his weird reactions to Patrick Mahomes, sometimes we can see from the commentary. But I'm not a betting man, but if I were to guess, I would say the Chiefs aren't going to make the playoffs. I mean, they're really behind in the race. The Broncos, the Patriots, the Colts, the Jaguars, and the Bills and the Chargers all have better records than them. And one of those teams would have to fall apart and lose out or lose a couple key games down the stretch. And I just don't see that happening. I think the Chiefs have one of the tougher schedules to finish out the year, having to play 3 potential playoff teams. And I think this just might be one of those years where the Chiefs will need to have a restart and just make some moves in the offseason. And it'll be interesting to see if maybe they move off of Chris Jones this offseason. I don't think they would even bother or even dare to trade away Travis Kelce. I think they'll just let him leave on his own terms and retire as one of the greatest Chiefs in franchise history. But that's about it. Thank you guys for watching.